Hey guys, Dan Malone here from MassLive.com, alongside for yet another season.
Oh yeah,
Andrew
we're back.
Sear of the Massachusetts Daily Collegian. We are here. We're back. You're right. We are here at Gillette Stadium on Saturday. UMass's home opener against Boston College, a game which UMass lost 26-7, a game in which they led 7-0 at the end of the first quarter, and then not a whole lot went right from that point forward. Offensively, it was a struggle. I think that's a slog. I think that's a kind way of putting it for a team that punted 12 times and had fewer than 125 total yards in the game. Admittedly, BC's as an excellent defense, but I think after that first quarter, people were expecting some good things. They were expecting a win, given how things have played out to that point. It's closely contested, and as we've seen a number of times over the years, they couldn't quite close the deal. It's a little different, though. We're used to this team in the past offensively putting up a whole lot of points, and the defense not really pulling their weight and having to win a shootout. This was the opposite. This is the second week in a row that the UMass defense has played well enough to win. And offensively, UMass just couldn't put everything together at the right time to kind of come away with that victory. And they're 0-2 heading back to McGurk next week, looking to get their first win against FIU. And I think a lot of people are disappointed given kind of how the early stages played out today.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the biggest thing you can look to is this game is the loss, I should say, in the Battle of the Trenches.
Just very evident.
Boston College dominated UMass, especially Boston College front seven, their defensive line against UMass's offensive line. Minus 23 rushing yards. That's not good. Only 16 yards of total offense in the second half. You're not going to beat anyone. You're not going to beat an FCS team with those kind of numbers. UMass just couldn't get anything going. And like you said, after that first quarter, I think a lot of people here, you see the plays that, a guy like Comas can make. You saw that play on the touchdown to Brenneman, where he escaped the pressure a little bit and he was able to find him on the busted coverage. But looking back at the overall game, that defense played pretty well, all things considered. It wasn't a perfect game by any stretch, and 26 obviously more than they allowed at Florida. But you look to the circumstances they were in. So many turnovers from UMass.
They were put in tough spots.
They were put in tough spots. The field possession battle wasn't great. But this defense is a lot faster than we've seen in years past. And
they swarm. They swarm a lot better.
They do.
They've used that buzzword in the past, but they haven't quite lived up to it. We're actually seeing some of it.
Exactly. And you look to the two plays that Allen allowed the touchdowns on, two great throws. He was in position just at 5'8". Bigger guy's going to go up and get it one-on-one. They've made the plays in practice, as Whipple and Kari Bailey-Smith said. But in the game, it's those one-on-one battles you have to win, and whatever team wins those battles comes away with the win, and we saw that here today.
Yeah, that was a tough stretch for UMass. They punted, and then the next play, 46 yards from Patrick Towles to Jeff Smith for the touchdown one-on-one coverage over James Allen. UMass immediately turns the ball over again after that, and then I think it's another, 37, 36?
36.
Yeah, 36 after that. Same connection, Towles to Jeff Smith. This one was in double coverage, and he kind of just dropped it in there and split the coverage. The safety was like coming over, and all of a sudden a 7-0 lead is a 13-7 deficit, and you're like, well, the entire complexion of this game has changed. And like you said, up front, UMass is just getting manhandled. Marquise Young, the most explosive player on the team, he carried the ball 17 times for 27 net yards. It's a 1.6 yards per carry average. This is a kid who was averaging over 6 yards a carry last year, and he seemed like he was just running into brick walls at the back of his own players. He never found that crease, never got going, and that made life really hard for Ross Comas. Ross Comas got sacked 8 times in this game. He looked comfortable at times when he could get out of the pocket and kind of set his feet a little bit, but when he was facing an oncoming rush in the pocket, he held the ball a little too long. He kind of froze. He did not have reliable outlets that he can kind of just dump the ball off to. I think UMass's overall lack of playmakers in the receiving game, was pretty evident today, and he took a beating because of it. We were told after the game that he was unavailable for interviews because he was getting medical attention. They said he's going to be okay, but we didn't get to talk to him about the game because of that. I guess the one bright spot offensively was the 58-yard touchdown completion to Adam Brenneman, which was kind of a broken play from BC's end, where you got the tight end sitting dead red in the middle of the field, wide open, and he can outrun everyone. But this is a game that UMass could have won.
Yeah,
They were leading. They were playing defensively well enough. It looked like they were going to be able to string together enough offensive plays to kind of make it happen. They for the second week in a row Mark Whipple had to credit the opposing team, and he said, we're playing some power conference teams, and you can't make some of those mistakes that they do. He said, if we're -2 in the turnover battle like they are, we're not going to beat these power conference teams, and it played out on the field.
They did, and I think another big thing you look to is some of the play calling down the stretch of the game. Regardless of the play calling, if you can't block, it doesn't matter what play you call. No matter what UMass was doing, whether it was trying to run the ball with Marquise, whether it was trying to do some quick passes with Comas, no matter what they were doing, there was always pressure up the middle, and Comas ducked out a couple times. He tried to run it, but just everywhere he looked, Marquise Young hit about 5 or 6 brick walls, like you said, just full out.
He doesn't shy away from contact, but that's not the way that you're going to make it. As a D1 player, if you're a running back, we've seen more from him. I expect to see more from him going forward when he's not playing, the Boston College front sevens of the world. So
yeah, and also with Comas, he's a guy that has the ability to make plays on his feet. But at the same time, you don't want him running around crazy all the time. He's got to stand up still. He's still a quarterback. He's still got to make the throws. And you can see why I think Whipple is trying to avoid that as much as possible, because he knows that he doesn't want Ross hung out to dry. And there are times where Comas has taken off a little bit early in the pocket, and that will come as he matures and learns to throw the ball away at times. But man, that defensive front seven from BC was the X factor in this game.
Yeah, it sounded like from talking to Whipple that he and Comas weren't necessarily on the same page the entire game and what they were trying to accomplish and what they saw. But it was also clear that Comas is his guy. I mean, Comas played the entire game today. He said, I asked him, I said, can you live with the growing pains of a young quarterback when your defense is playing this well to win games? And he said, he's a sophomore, but he's the best guy we got. So they're going to keep rolling with him, presumably for the time being. So anyone out there who is calling for Andrew Ford midway through this game, don't get your hopes up. I've seen enough of Ross he's got a nice deep ball. I think he throws the ball well. We'll see how he's doing against FIU this week. If these same troubles are cropping up against FIU, then that kind of,
and I think that
raises some eyebrows. But today, it was tough, but it's something you got to live with.
Exactly. And one last point, we're going to wrap this up. But that FIU game, I think, is this team's biggest test. I think before the season started, I don't think many people expected them to beat Florida. No one expected them to beat Florida. Not many people expected them to beat BC.
Except the diehards.
Except the diehards, yes. But coming into the schedule, I think the majority of people expected this team to be 0-2. That's where they are. FIU, a team they beat last year.
For their first win last year.
Like you said. So, jury's still out. Let's see what they can do Saturday. And we'll see against a team who's not a Power 5 conference. They're not Florida. They're not BC. So we'll be interested to see what Whipple and the rest of the offense can do against that defense.
And we'll be there at McGurk Stadium, and we'll be here shooting other of these videos, and we'll see you then, I guess.
Yep.
All right. Bye. Thank you, sir.